Hello and welcome to the Expo prep presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Valerie Mandel. I'm here with my colleague Erin Minta, and we're very excited to talk to you all about Expo. We are from the Daytona Beach Career Services office, so this may be geared a little bit more towards our Industry Career Expo, but if you are from another campus, our advice could definitely hold true. So as you can see, hopefully you're aware of all of our big expos and career fairs coming up this fall. First is the virtual expo on October 6th. We have a YouTube presentation already out there all about the virtual expo. And so I can drop that in the chat later to make sure that you are aware on how to register for that event. Some of our information will be relevant to, again, that expo, but we're going to be talking more about our in-person expo, which is on October 12th. And so again, more information will be distributed tonight, all about the in-person. And then we also have our virtual graduate school fair coming up on October 26th from 4 to 7, and that also is virtual and on Handshake. Hopefully you all are familiar with Handshake, and if you're not, this is a time to get familiar with it. Make sure you add it on your Ernie tools and then click right there, and you can have it right there in Ernie and have a single sign-on to get directly into Handshake. I'm now going to pass it over to Erin.
Hi, everyone. Glad you could make it tonight. So what do you want to do before the expo? On the next slide, we recommend that you, first of all, make sure you have your professional attire all ready to go. This is expected at the attendance for the in-person expo, and it's recommended for a virtual expo. So for professional attire, we are referring to suits, skirts or dresses with a suit jacket, a button-down shirt and ties. Blouses should be appropriate, should be conservative and appropriate. And the colors for your blouses and shirts should be muted, like white or off-white or light blue. Your shoes, make sure that they are polished and professional. The minimum professional dress is business casual. You can have flight or ROTC uniforms. Those are appropriate for Expo, and religious and cultural attire is also acceptable. We recommend that you pay special attention to good personal hygiene on the day of the Expo. Make sure you shower, that you wear deodorant, don't smoke before you attend or while you're dressed up because it'll linger on your clothes. Make sure you brush your teeth, grab a breath mint, and minimize the use of hairsprays or anything with a fragrance or a cologne. With accessories, you can accessorize. They should enhance, not detract from your appearance and your attire. You are in a conservative industry, so understated and conservative is best. That's interesting about watches. I don't know what that is, Valerie. Why is it important that an employer sees that you wear a watch?
We say that this is important because it shows that you always like to be on time, that you're conscientious of time, and that, you know, and again, people may not wear a watch these days because we have our cell phones right, you know, in the palm of our hands and kind of always know the time that way. So this may be a little outdated with why you wear a watch, but for those, you know, Apple Watch users who are, you know, always on the go and want to keep up to date with steps and exercise. But again, that's kind of the reason, is to show that, you know, you are timely and will be on time and conscientious of that.
I guess I have to get a watch. So professional impressions. I was just talking to some freshmen today in the UNIV 101 class, and we were talking about body language and how you approach an employer or an employer table. You want to make sure to project some confidence and interest, have good posture, your head up, your shoulders back, and smile and greet them. We're not sure about handshakes this year. We don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, especially not a recruiter. So if you're not comfortable and they reach out to you, you can come up with, you know, you can say, I'm sorry, I'm not there yet, or shake their hand, and there's going to be hand sanitizer everywhere. So we want you to limit your defensive body posture, your defensive body language. You know, you don't want to talk to the recruiters with your arms crossed or frowning or slumping. You don't want to, you know, be touching your hair too much. maintain good eye contact, and your professional dress will help you a lot to feel more confident. As you approach, or before you go, really, you want to think about what's your goal for going. So some students want to develop, focus their research around whether they're there to really just interact with employers, to network. Maybe you already have a job and you're just going to go say hi to the recruiter that you met at the expo before. Maybe you really want to search for a job, so you're really there to find and secure a position. It's important to know before you go what it is you want to do so that you use your time well. You can learn about and select different career jobs and types from Handshake, from the employers that are going to be there. But it's important for you to know so that when you greet them, you can tell them, I'm here to speak to you about this. I saw it on your website. I saw it in Handshake. This is my goal. I want to work for you, Mr. Lockheed Martin, or Lockheed Martin's not going to be at the expo because they did their recruiting on campus. But you want to make sure that you're aware of the approach that you're going to have with every employer that you're going to meet. Ask yourself if you have determined your professional goals post-graduation. Are you perhaps more interested in going to graduate school? And if so, why then would you go to the fair? Well, because it's always good to have employer information to keep up those contacts and to create a network. We strongly recommend that you apply to available positions with employers before you talk to them at the expo. And also, you want to study up on what that employer does. The worst question to ask at the expo to any employer there is, what does your company do? It's a much better approach to say, I am so interested in this program. I read about it and I wondered if you had a few minutes to speak to me about it. And you could take that approach, whether you're a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, or a senior. Valerie?
Great segue, Erin, into research. And so, as Erin mentioned, this is really critical. And so it's great for you to kind of know all the companies that are attending and being able to speak about them and what they do. And so research can be conducted on Handshake, of course. Use our website. You can use Career Shift, which is one of our digital tools that you can find through Ernie as well, or in Handshake. And then, of course, there's always LinkedIn. There's setting up Google alerts, going to the company website, Yahoo, so many ways that you can research a company. But we encourage you to kind of take the list of the companies that are attending and make your top 5 to top 10 that you want to talk to that day. A great advantage of the in-person expo is that there's no classes that day. So you do have a lot of available time. I will kind of mention, though, that we are encouraging students to come in waves due to reducing traffic and long lines at the expo. And so we are encouraging for the first hour and a half for seniors, master's and PhD, and then the next hour and a half juniors, the next hour and a half sophomores, and then that final hour and a half first year students. But again, we understand life happens, you may have work, and so you come whenever you need to, but we are trying to do those waves to limit the amount of lines and traffic. But as I was mentioning, creating that 5 to 10 companies that you definitely want to talk to at the expo. Know what they do, where are they located geographically, do they have multiple locations? So maybe the company has a facility in Melbourne, but then another facility in Savannah or something, and so that you're able to be familiar with those locations and talk about that depending on where you want to go. Also discussing, being able to talk about why this company is interesting to you, being able to discuss that, what they do with the employer, and not just kind of look like a deer in headlights. I'll give the example. Rolls-Royce will be attending the expo this year. We're very excited to have them back on campus. And so you may have heard of the Rolls-Royce does also makes cars. They're very nice cars, expensive cars. But the company coming is not the car company. It is the engine company. And so if you were to go up to a Rolls-Royce recruit and be like, oh, your cars are so beautiful, I would love to drive a Rolls-Royce one day, they may look at you a little funny because they are not the company that does that. And so again, being able to do your research ahead of time and know what the company does is vital for you. Attend company information sessions and networking events. I'll have a slide in an upcoming slide about some of the companies that are doing some information sessions before the expo in a networking event. But that, it can always change depending on availability, or we may add someone, you never know. So just keep up to date with us on our various mediums. Also, some additional tools. We are on the My Team site, or SharePoint. We have a site there, and so that you are able to look at previous intern papers. And so this is a great tool for you to go on, read about, what a previous intern did at, Delta Airlines, and be able to be familiar with that. So then when you talk to a recruiter, you have more knowledge and you can ask deeper questions, and they realize that you're truly interested in their company and in their positions because you did your extra research. And of course, talk to peers that have done, internships, or alumni who have full-time jobs at that location, be able to understand more about the company and the culture and what they have going on so that you can be more prepared. Tailoring your resume. Again, hopefully you were able to attend our resume presentation yesterday. If you were not, it is available on YouTube right now on our YouTube page. Again, I'll drop that link in the chat. I haven't yet, forgot that. And so some quick tailoring of the resume though. When you do go to Expo, it's good to have tailored resumes and then also some general resumes with you. The tailored ones, we encourage you to have an objective statement on there at the top that says, again, depending on what your objective is, to obtain an internship with company XYZ for summer 22. Again, they know exactly what you're looking for.
My name is Ryan.
They're able to, again, know what is happening, what you want to do, and have your resume in a different pile than that of someone who's looking for a full-time opportunity. You also want some general resumes, maybe just to say to obtain a summer 22 internship, because you never know, you have that top 5 or 10 companies you want to approach, but then you may be walking down one of the aisles and see someone like, oh, that company's really interesting. Do a little research on the side on your phone, and then you have a resume available to go up and talk to them that doesn't have a different company name on it, of course. But also going back to the tailoring your resume, this is more for when you're applying for opportunities. And so read job descriptions really carefully, take out a highlighter or a pen, highlight those key words in the job description that they want you to have, those skills, abilities, or requirements that they want you to have. Look for how those items are worded, assess your resume, compare them. Do you have what meet those qualifications? Maybe you do, and it's just not in your resume. Use some of their language that's in the job description to make sure that your resume is tailored to that specific job. Again, your resume can make sure it's accurate and everything is truthful on the resume, but you can use that job description to help you tailor it a little bit more for the specific job that you are applying to. This is our tentative week of events happening the week of the expo. And so we will be doing our employer resume review day. It is still to be determined if it's in person or virtual. From what I hear, we're still finalizing that. So more information, but that is on Monday. We will have employers available to do last minute resume reviews, but we encourage you to have your resume reviewed by Career Services way in advance, this week or next at the latest, but if you have that last minute, maybe you can use the employer resume reviews. We are doing our last minute Fast Pass pickup on that Monday right outside our office. In Fast Pass, Erin will discuss later on in the presentation. AIAA is hosting their Meet the Geeks event. Again, this is for engineering students. It will be held in the College of Aviation atrium, and it is just a networking event with some of the employers attending. And then we have 5 information sessions scheduled for that Monday evening. So you can see JSX and United Airlines at 5 o'clock, and then Collins, Gulfstream, and Republic are happening at 6:30. And then of course the expo is on the 12th. And we haven't really discussed this, but we, are following university guidelines and are asking, masks to be worn by students at the expo. Again, it's good professionally, and it's a nice courtesy to employers who are coming in. And so that is something that will be going out in more of our language that we're talking about the expo. Erin.
Yes, so what to do the day of Expo? Well, I always recommend getting a very good night's sleep the night before, but we have some other tips too about approaching and interacting with employers. So one of the things that you can do while you're standing in line is listen intently to the conversations going on ahead of you. Try not to repeat the same question that those students are asking, but if you need a clarification, that's a time to do that. But here's the thing, the reason we recommend that you do this is students are going to ask questions that you wouldn't have thought to ask, possibly. So you're going to have more information, and then maybe it was a question you were going to ask, and now you can ask your next one instead. You want to write down the name of the representative that you're speaking to ahead of time while you're waiting in line, so that you can have that contact information and you can reach out to them on LinkedIn. Again, the firm handshake, we're really not sure where our employers are going to land with that. And we want also you to be comfortable with your own boundaries with that. So you need to think that through. What do you want? Come up with a strategy and just stand your ground when you're in line. Use your research to ask really good questions. Again, if you start the conversation with what do you do, you're not going to get as far as if you start the conversation with this program, this project at your company is very interesting to me. And I noticed that you're hiring for a systems engineer or mechanical engineer. The skills that I have seem to be a fit. Can we talk about this? Or where do you see that program going? Or how many interns do you think you might hire for that? You can start the conversation with something more engaged. The employer will know that you are interested in their company. You can ask for their business cards and you can link to them on LinkedIn. If you can get their name, don't be surprised they don't all carry business cards with them, because they sometimes are just there. They're not necessarily the people who you're going to end up working with. They are there just to collect resumes and maybe give them to someone else, or they're just inundated, overwhelmed, or maybe they ran out. So try not, again, to ask, what does your company do? And don't monopolize the employer's time. Read their body cues, read they're going to tell you a lot of the way they make eye contact or not, whether you're done. And some of them will be very much, okay, we're done, next. But you don't want to monopolize your time, especially if you're not yet interested in getting an internship or a co-op or a full-time position. And you can be upfront about this. You can say, I'm a freshman, I'm not quite ready to get an opportunity with your company, but I want to be ready this time next year. Can I just take 2 minutes of your time, look at my resume, or can I ask you what are the top 3 skills I need to have or do to be competitive next year? Try not to take the swag, the freebies, and run. It's not a good look. And we do have the same recruiters returning year in and year out who have amazing memories. I don't know how they do it, but they do. Do make it known that you're interested in a company because you're an international student and because they hire international students. It's best to have that conversation right up front. If something has changed, they can tell you right then, and you can move on, and you don't have to waste your own time, because there are a lot of other companies to go see. With respect to your elevator pitch. So this is a very quick introduction that you share with someone that you meet, say in an elevator, for 30 seconds. You're trying to sell your capabilities, and it's a similar speech to the question, tell me about yourself, when you're asked that in an interview or when you're introducing yourself in a cover letter. So it's a 20-30 second advertisement. It covers who you are, what you're looking for, how you add value to the organization or the project. And so you want to highlight your skills, your qualifications, and the characteristics you bring to the company. You want to write this one out. You want to practice it out loud. You want to practice it with people you trust and get some feedback. You can record yourself on your camera phone or just your audio on your camera and listen to how you like what you hear. Once you know the scope of what you want to share, you can customize it and adapt it from person to person. And you don't have to share the entire speech every single time with every recruiter, but be prepared in case you have an opportunity. The elevator pitch presentation is tomorrow, September 23rd, from 12:30 to 1:30. Just register through Handshake. So making a good impression. We poll our employers after every time they engage with us at expos and also information sessions. And so we've accumulated a good deal of knowledge about what their impressions are of our students. So here are some of the things that stand out with them and make impressions. When you have knowledge about the company, and you can state a few specific facts. Valerie and I have spoken about this a couple of times in this presentation, and here's your proof. They do recognize it, they do know, they pay attention. Knowing what you want to do for a specific company, or at least have an idea. And remember, when you say, I want to do this for you, that's what you want to do now for them. You have every right to change your mind a year from now, 5 years from now, or to move on and do something else. But this is your goal for right now. And that's what you need to be able to say. They love it when you can carry on a conversation with a recruiter. So if you want to practice some questions, just write a bunch of questions down that you think might make sense. One little tip is to put yourself in their position or pretend that you are having to replace yourself in a club or an organization. What are the kinds of questions you would expect a student to ask of you? So now you think about a recruiter, what are the kinds of questions, conversations and questions that they would be interested in continuing talking to you about? We've given you a lot of tips in this presentation, and you can reach out to us for more if you feel like you need them. Have a very good introduction, a strong handshake, eye contact, and again, that confidence in the body language. You really want to know what your strengths and interests are, and these are technical skills as well as your soft skills or your career readiness competencies. And by that, we mean if you've been a leader, if you've had to do a significant amount of communication with a club or a group or a program or a project, maybe you are a strong team player, a strong collaborator, and that's what you're known for. These are the things that you could weave into your elevator pitch and into any conversation. Employers appreciate it when you can tell them what your strengths are, what your value is that you bring. They do want to see true passion for your career interest. They will ask you the question, why did you choose to study mechanical engineering? And if you say, well, it seemed like the best option, that's not a strong answer. They want to see commitment to the profession so that they know when they see you on Monday morning, on week 52 of the year they hired you, you're just as enthused as you were on week 1. They want to see a good attitude, and they want you to show your confidence. If you're nervous, that doesn't mean you lack confidence. It means you get nervous. Just put it aside and remember your skills. Remember that you're a good engineer and that you came to a good school to get a good job and that you're interested in their company. You can take notes as you talk to them. They actually find that very respectful as opposed to distracting. It is best to try to take notes and not lose eye contact with them or not lose connection with them. They want you to be able to hand them a resume on paper as well as if they may ask for it digitally, and you want to have it in both forms, and they want to see that you've done your research. Well-groomed. These are the things that stand out again, that you're well-groomed, that you're dressed appropriately for the event, good handshake, eye contact, and they do appreciate strong academics. That doesn't mean that you can't make up for some weaker grades with some other skills, particularly in leadership or programs and projects, but they do appreciate strong academics.
So now we'll go into what are some possible questions from employers. Again, you know, an expo, there will be a large number of employers, a lot of recruiters around. And so you approach a booth and what do you think an employer may ask you? And so these are some possible questions that they could ask. Again, we don't know. Unfortunately, we don't have that crystal ball to know exactly what every employer will say. But some of them could be, why are you looking, what are you looking for with a company at XYZ? What are you looking for? Walk me through your resume. And so this is key to being able to speak about everything that is on your resume, kind of off the top of your head without having to like glance at it with the recruiter, being able to talk about everything and just, and discuss it in a little bit more detail. Why did you decide to visit our booth at this event? Why did you choose to come up to us? What brought you to Embry-Riddle? That's a really good question, and why Embry-Riddle out of all, institutions that you could choose. Where do you want to be geographically? Again, doing your research, for instance, Collins Aerospace, one of their main headquarters is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And if they say, oh, where are you interested geographically? And you say, I only want to be in Miami, Florida, that may not match them. And so again, being able to do your research and say, oh, well, I'm open, to your different locations. I know you have one in Cedar Rapids and you have a facility up in Connecticut or whatever. And so being able to talk about that and know that ahead of time. Again, we have a lot of alumni that come back and recruit with us, which is great. And so they may ask you, about what is your favorite class? Who's your favorite professor and why? Kind of connecting with you being an alum, having attended Embry-Riddle and been in your shoes. Asking what are your personal interests? Again, having that personal connection about hobbies or things that you may be interested in. Again, it helps fuel that conversation. What particular position are you interested in? That's why it's important to, apply for positions ahead of time. It's great if you say, oh, well, I'm interested in, this internship. I've already applied to it on Handshake, or I've already applied to it directly on your website at requisition number XYZ. It shows, oh, wow, this student is really engaged and really wants to work with us. They've already done that step of the process. And so again, it's something that will help you stand out. And then of course, well, why should we pick you, or why should we take you to the next step, being able to speak about those skills also. Some interviewing basics. Again, our interviewing presentation is tomorrow also in the evening. And so we will be going into lots more in-depth information about interviewing, but these are just a couple of things to consider because there is an interview day the day after Expo on the 13th that maybe students aren't aware of if they haven't attended. We do have a handful of employers that want to stay and conduct in-person interviews the next day. And so it's great to be prepared for an interview along with everything that you would need to be prepared for the Expo. So again, some things to consider, most interviewers do make a decision on if they're gonna bring you back for another step within the first 15 minutes of that interview. And so it is key that, you are practiced and well-versed so that you're able to make a good impression right in the beginning. Having a great attitude, strong communication skills, professionalism, all those are key contributions to make you a candidate that sticks out during an interview. I cannot tell you how many times I will tell students to practice. Some of you may be great at interviewing and don't need to practice and could talk about yourself for hours, which is terrific. You may want to cut it down from a couple hours, but then others of you really may need to practice, and that's okay. But take the time to go over your answers. We have so many great resources within our office. You could do a mock interview with your program manager in career services. We also have some software available to you, again, through ERNI Tools and Handshake called Big Interview. And this is software, again, you can easily access it and practice your interviews or interview questions. You can record yourself. You can send the video to friends and family to give you feedback. Again, practice these common interview questions so that you feel comfortable. The interview tool is Big Interview. Again, through ERNI Tools, you'll see a little icon, or you can get to it through Handshake under Resources. Make a checklist of things to remember just for yourself. Maybe it's, you give a quick reminder right before you go in that interview. Speak clearly, don't mumble, articulate your words. Answer the questions that are asked. I know a lot of times we get off track, you know, we're listening to the question, or we go into a story and we totally just don't even answer the question. And so keep yourself on track, answer that question that's being asked. Emphasize keywords that apply to the position you're looking at or interviewing for. Positive facial expressions, smiling, being enthusiastic about the position. And so all of these are really key to a great interview. And again, our wonderful team in Career Services will be giving you more insights during our interview prep presentation. Always be prepared to ask the interviewer questions also. I will tell you that is something that employers are truly looking for. If you have a wonderful interview and then they ask you, well, do you have any questions for us? And you say, nope, I'm good. It again looks like you're not as interested in that position. And so it is really encouraged for you to take some time and think about questions you want to ask the employer at the end of your interview. Keep them company centered and themed. You don't ever want to ask about salary or benefits, especially this first initial interview or even later interviews. But again, you don't want to ask about some of those perks. Let them bring up those topics. That's something you definitely don't want to ask about. Prepare questions ahead of time. Like I mentioned, you can have them written down on a piece of paper and bring them with you. Maybe slip them out of a folder or a portfolio, again, just so you have them and you remember. You can also write down answers at that time. You don't really want to write down things during an interview, but again, at the end, when you're asking questions, you can write down those answers to your questions. Some common questions you could potentially ask employers at the end of an interview is, tell me your experience with this company. What are some opportunities for growth for me? If you're looking for an internship, do a lot of interns then get full-time opportunities at this company? Or if you're looking for full-time, how do I get to the next level? Or what is the progression timeline? That's totally fine to ask because it shows that you're invested and really want to work at this company long-term. You can always ask the person you're interviewing with, tell me about your career path. People love talking about themselves and their path to where they got to. And so that's a great question to really, let the recruiter, the interviewer talk about themselves and how they got to their role or what brought them to the company. Future growth plans for the company or locations or whatever, or projects, or new acquisitions, what is their future growth? And then of course, finally, what's that next step, in the process? Will they be bringing you to the site to do another in-person interview with the actual hiring manager? Will it be a phone interview? Will it be a virtual interview? What's the next step? And what's that timeline going to be? What do we do after the expo, Erin?
So after the expo is just as important as before the expo and during. You want to send thank you letters or an email to any employer that you spoke to or interviewed with, especially within 24 hours. This is key. You want to mention something specific about the conversation so they can remember you. You want to reiterate your interest in the company and the position. And you can include a call to action in your closing, something like, I look forward to hearing back from you. If I don't hear back from you, or you wouldn't say it like this, but if I don't hear back from you in a couple of weeks, I'll reach out again, or look forward to my connection request through LinkedIn. I appreciate your time. And then go to LinkedIn and send a connect request. You can continue to engage with employers of interest over the whole time that you're here at Embry-Riddle and even outside of here. So they will track while you're here as an undergrad. Our employers often will track your involvement with them as a way to show your interest. So these are, do you attend their events? Have you applied for jobs? They don't, necessarily track if you say hello to them at Expo, but they do have interviewing information sessions and they will check to see that you went to those too. Again, so the next slide, I guess. Our practice interview workshop, we have a peer-to-peer one that is separate from the one tomorrow, obviously, because it's a different date. But on September 30th, we're going to invite as many students as want. Hopefully we have enough breakout rooms to do a practice interview workshop. These are all registered events, so you need to register through Handshake. But this is where we split you up with your peers and you guys can practice interview questions back and forth. We ran a session like this last spring and the students really loved it and got a lot out of it. So consider that one. Again, it's through Handshake where you would register. Our Fall Industry Expo Fast Pass Pickup. Boy, that's a mouthful. This is where you can come to Career Services. It's going to be set up right outside of our office on the 3rd floor of the Student Union. Bring your Eagle card. You can swipe in. It'll print your name badge. There will be badge holders and lanyards there for you to put your name badge in, and you are checked into the event. So the morning of Expo, you don't have to do that. You can walk right into when the doors open. You can go right into the event. This is going to be available October 1st through the 11th from 8:30 to 4:30, again on the 3rd floor of the Student Union. You don't have to register to do that. That gets you registered for the event. Valerie, do you want to talk to us about some of our other events?
Yes, I would love to. So thank you all again for attending this Expo prep presentation. I know we've mentioned it, but tomorrow during the lunch hour, we have our elevator speech presentation. And then tomorrow evening, our interview prep presentation. Both of those should be recorded and available on YouTube at a later date. Erin just mentioned our practice interview workshop. We would love for you to attend and practice those interview skills. And then, of course, our Fast Pass that we mentioned also. Mock interview day is happening towards the end of October. And this is where you'll have the opportunity to do mock interviews with employer partners and career services. And so again, more information will be on Handshake soon about that. We're doing a case interviewing workshop also towards the end of October. And then we're bringing back our salary negotiation panel that will be, again, virtual. But this has been a great presentation in the past where we have some employer partners talk about, what do you do when you need to negotiate a salary, what goes into that. And so always some great conversations from that. So we hope you can join us at some of our upcoming presentations. Erin, back to you on competencies.
So we've talked a little bit about soft skills throughout our presentation. Employers look for your technical skills, your ability to do engineering and business functions and everything that they need in the job description itself. But there are something called soft skills or career readiness competencies that employers seek. And these are listed here: career self-development, communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. Now, you might ask yourself, why do employers look for these? How do they assess me for these? And what is this all about? So basically, career self-development directly relates to the question, why did you choose your major? Because they want to see your passion for your industry. Communication skills are clearly extremely important in the workplace. So how do you communicate that in person and on your resume? Critical thinking, that is a skill beyond being able to do math. It's about thinking projects through all the way to the end or collaborating with critical thinking. And collaboration and teamwork is right across from on this chart from critical thinking, because often those things happen together. We talked a little bit about professionalism in terms of professional dress and your appearance and your approach. Leadership, equity, inclusion, and technology are all three also important. Different employers assess for these in different ways, but they're all important as a skill set that will set you ahead of other applicants. And if you want to know more, you can reach out to me directly. But basically, this is all under the umbrella of the Eagle Elevate program, wherein we have a variety of events, activities, and different ways to get involved with understanding what these mean and applying them to yourself, and then learning how to speak to those with employers. They're soft skills, so it's sort of a soft way to influence an employer. And sometimes the questions aren't clear. They're not just going to say, tell me about your technology skills. They're going to assess it in a roundabout way. So we have some information about that, and you can reach out to me if you'd like some more information. Valerie?
Stay connected with us. We are on many different mediums, of course. We have our wonderful website. It was actually redesigned this past summer, so check it out if you haven't already. We, of course, use Handshake. Hopefully you all have been on your Handshake profile and you have complete profiles that will help you be successful in our virtual expo, as well as engaging with employers through Handshake in the future. I mentioned our My Team site or SharePoint. We are on Facebook. Make sure you follow us. On our website, we have our wonderful Going Places featured articles, and we have a podcast. We're on Twitter. Look for our job of the day or internship of the day on Twitter. And then our Instagram is incredible, and our wonderful social media coordinator, Indira, does an amazing job with Instagram. So I hope you're following us on there. You can always ask questions through Instagram. And then, of course, we mentioned our YouTube page, which is available with all our previous presentations. So at this time, we are going to open it for questions, and we appreciate your attention tonight. I'm going to stop the recording.